Hello everyone and welcome back to TowerGate. It is day 254, Friday! Happy Friday everybody. It's Fun Friday, November 17th, 2017. Let's get right to it. Well, like many of you, I have just found out in the past 24 hours or so about this previously unknown office in the swamp called the Congressional Office of Compliance. Congressional Office of Compliance. That's a nice name. They do various things there, and apparently this was created, this office was created because prior to it, members of Congress did not follow about 7 or 8 different labor type laws. They were pretty much, didn't have to comply with those, so they came up with this Congressional Office of Compliance to force members of Congress to comply with certain labor laws and things like that. How much they paid staffers and benefits and various other things. People in wheelchairs, people who are mentally handicapped. You know, if you had any of those problems, you couldn't work in D.C., for example, as a staffer or something like that. So to try to correct that, they came up with this Congressional Office of Compliance. But what they did also is they hid this little rule, or whatever you would call it, into this Congressional Office of Compliance. And what this allows them to do is to use taxpayer money to settle disputes, I guess you would say, or probably I guess you could use the word lawsuits or disputes, charges made against members of Congress and their staffers for sexual harassment or sexual misconduct. So we're learning that in the last 9 years, there has been $17 million paid out to 350 different people with claims that they were sexually harassed or that there was sexual misconduct committed against them by members of Congress or their staffers. Now, the best word I found to describe this came from one of my favorite commenters, Mara, one of my favorite subscribers. She used the term the shush fund, and that's exactly the perfect word to describe what this is. It is a shush fund. And I never knew about this, and I follow things like this very closely, as many of you do, and I don't know of anybody who knew about any of this. But now it's becoming fairly mainstream, and I would expect it won't be long before people will be screaming for something to happen in regards to this, specifically for the names of those individuals who have been accused and who've had to pay out claims, for the names of those people to be released. Some of them will be members of Congress, some of them may be staffers. But we need to know the names. I mean, we paid, it was taxpayer dollars that paid out these settlements. If it was taxpayers who paid out these settlements, we should have a right to know who we paid a settlement to and who the allegation was against. We should demand it. We should absolutely demand it. There is a petition, by the way, that people are signing on to try to force them to release the names. And I think they may have to, because as more and more people learn about this, I think more and more people will demand to know the names of these people. And I'll tell you something else. I'm not happy about the fact that they're using taxpayer money to do this, or the fact that they would even use some congressional office or something like that to handle these types of issues. These issues should be handled the same way they're handled in any other time, any other place, to any other person, in a civil court. Or if they file criminal charges, then it will be in criminal court. So we need to know who these members of Congress and staffers are. We don't necessarily need to know the name of the victim or the person, the accuser. They should probably have the right to remain anonymous. It's not important who they are. You know, we really don't care who they are. What's important to us as taxpayers, and we're the ones that paid for it, for these settlements. What's important for us to know is who are these members of Congress or staffers, and where are they at now? Are they still working in D.C., in the swamp, in the sewer? We need to get to the bottom of this, along with many other things. As you can see, with the issues that we cover every day, it's hard to get closure on one issue, because before you can even begin to dig into one issue, 5 more pop up. It's nearly impossible to keep up with. It's absolutely amazing. You're right, Maura. Shush fund is the perfect word for this. But we need to open this up. We need to put a little sunlight on this particular issue. And I would support, once we find out who these people are, these members of Congress or staffers, they should have to pay back that $17 million that they took. The taxpayers' money should not be spent to pay settlements over sexual harassment or sexual misconduct allegations against a member of Congress or a staffer. No way. Unbelievable. Whew. Former Biden bodyguard, talking now about Joe Biden, who is the #1 frontrunner for the 2020 for the Democrats in 2020. Joe Biden's former bodyguard says that Biden is a Weinstein type of character, and that Biden's Secret Service had to keep him away from women because they feared what kind of problems he could get them into. There you go. Well, it's no secret that Joe Biden's a pretty creepy character. I think we've all seen that photo of Joe Biden whispering in that little girl's ear, and he's got his hand right over her breasts. She can't be more than 8 or 9, 10 years old. We have another photo where it shows Joe Biden apparently taking a young little girl's hand and putting it, around his groin area. I mean, God. It's hard to comprehend, because as normal people, we don't act like this. We don't associate with people who act like this. We don't know any people that we know of act like this. And we certainly don't hang around with them. These people, I mean, we knew they were corrupt. We know they lied to us and steal from us from K Street to Wall Street. We know that they start wars based on lies. We know about false flag operations. We know about cover-ups of all sorts of corruption and horrible things that we talk about here on TowerGate all the time. But this is this is just going into a place where I never thought we'd go. I mean, I always knew that members of Congress, they have, girlfriends and prostitutes and mistresses, and this is something we've come to almost accept, even though we shouldn't. But it's getting really creepy now. I mean, it's getting really, really bad. And something has to be done. Really does. We'll get back to that here in a moment. Let's move on. Jeebs, another great subscriber to my channel, pointed out something that I didn't notice. He was talking about, did I notice, in a comment he made, did I notice what looked like to be Rana Wan sitting behind Jeff Sessions while Representative Jim Jordan was grilling him? And I actually didn't notice. So I went back, Jeebs, and I looked at the video, and I think I see who you're talking about. Okay. I haven't seen a real recent... There's quite a few photos of Rana Wan, and they all kind of look different. He looks different. I haven't seen a real recent good photo of Rana Wan, whatever his name is. I know he's got 2 brothers. He may have more. And I saw what you were talking about, and I looked at it and stopped the video and just stared at it for a few minutes, and it's very possible that could be Rana Wan. It's very possible. I can't be 100% sure, but I can certainly... It's a good eye. Good catch there, Jeebs. Surprised you caught that, but excellent job. I don't know. I don't know if that's Rana Wan or not. It could be. It could be. It's not like you look at it and go, oh, no, that can't possibly be him. Like the photo supposedly that showed Rana Wan with Seth Rich and some friends in a bar or something. I remember when that was going around for a while, and I looked at that, and I didn't think that looked very much like Rana Wan. But now, this character that you're talking about, Jeebs, he does bear a pretty good resemblance to some of the photos I've seen of Rana Wan. And he is still in D.C. because he's got that ankle bracelet. Boy, oh boy, what would make him... Could he even get into a congressional hearing? How could he even get into a congressional hearing? Hasn't his security pass been revoked? You know, if he can walk into a hearing, then we're in even deeper trouble than I thought. But I don't know, Jeebs. It's a very good observation. I don't know, but I would say it's worth looking into. Certainly worth looking into. Let's put it that way. Can't be for sure, but could be. Very, very good observation. Jeebs, well done. Alrighty, now we have New York Senator Kirsten Gillibrand now saying that Bill Clinton should have resigned over the Monica Lewinsky scandal. Another example of what I've been telling you, and you're going to see more and more of this, of Democrats, former friends of the Clintons, throwing them to the wolves. To the wolves. And the wolves are hungry. Throwing them to the wolves. Now, she occupies the Rotten Reverend's former New York Senate seat. But it's just amazing, that you would have someone that close to the Clintons coming out and saying that Bill Clinton should have resigned over Monica Lewinsky scandal. Now, that's a bit of revisionist history going on with Kirsten Gillibrand, because both the Clintons campaigned for Kirsten Gillibrand. Gillibrand has made numerous quotes and tweets about her good friends, the Clintons, long since that all went down. She's posed in photos with Bill Clinton, which you can see on her Facebook page. A couple of photos there where she's all smiles, standing right next to Bill Clinton, all smiles. For all we know, they've had a little fling. It's hard to say. And back during that time when all this was happening, Kirsten Gillibrand, probably too young at that point to have been involved in politics, but most of the Democrats and the liberal media back then, I remember it well, was all saying, well, what Bill Clinton did with Monica Lewinsky was, that was between Bill and Hillary. That's a private matter. It has nothing to do with him being president. And this is the excuses. This was what the liberal media and the friends of Clinton rolled out to try to save his butt. Hillary, of course, went on TV and said it was a right-wing conspiracy, a vast right-wing conspiracy, and that none of it was true. Of course, we found out later it was true. And of course, we know that he lost his case against Paula Jones because she was able to point out the fact that he had a crooked pecker. And she could only have known that if she saw it. That's Bill Clinton's crooked pecker, and him exposing it to her is what cost him $850 large. And we also know that the Rotten Reverend sicked the goon squad after all of these women who were accusers of Bill Clinton. She launched all sorts of goons on these women and did all sorts of nasty things, killing, what's her name, Broderick, killed her cat, threatening phone calls in the middle of the night, throwing bricks through their window, painting hateful slogans on their automobiles with spray paint, following them, doing all sorts of creepy things, threatening them. This was all run by Hillary. She was running the Bill Clinton bimbo eruption response team. So it's just, typical politician, Kirsten Gillibrand, now coming out and saying, oh yeah, Bill Clinton should have probably resigned. But where was she 2 weeks ago, a month ago, a year ago, 2 years ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago? For the past, she was campaigning and promoting the Rotten Reverend and hanging out with Slick Willie, the Crooked Pecker Man, along with the Rotten Reverend. She's been hanging out with them and been associating with them and been friends with them and tweeting with them and taking photos with them for many, many years after that all happened. But just now, she suddenly wakes up and gets religion and decides, oh yeah, well, he should have probably resigned. When did she come to that conclusion or that realization? only because of what's happening now, and she realizes, oh, she better get out in front of the political wave that's sweeping across the country from Hollywood all the way to D.C., and it has a ways to go. Typical politician, Kirsten Gillibrand. You are a fraud, a fake, and a liar. A fraud, a fake, and a liar. But even so, it shows you that Kirsten Gillibrand now is willing to throw her good friends, the Clintons, to the wolves. Like many other people are throwing the Clintons to the wolves. Well, the House passed the tax reform bill. Big question is, will the Senate kill it? This will not be the first time that we've seen the House pass a bill, goes over to the Senate where Mitch McConnell, Twit McConnell, Senator Magoo, and all their friends get together and kill the bill. And I bet they do it again. I bet they do it again. Would not surprise me at all. Would not surprise me at all. We'll see what happens, but I wouldn't be surprised at all to see the Senate, even as much pressure as they're under. I honestly believe that the Republicans in the Senate would be willing to lose the Senate in 2018 rather than give Donald Trump any legislative victory, or give tax relief to the middle class, or a business tax cut to the businesses who create the jobs in this country and allow them to be competitive again. Would not surprise me at all. That's how bad these people are. So we'll just have to see where this goes. But we'll just have to see. Yeah, Trump commenting on the Roy Moore situation, and he came up with the exact correct comment. Same comment I've had. I don't know. Let the voters in Alabama decide. Let the voters in Alabama decide, because we just don't know. Now, again, I don't know Roy Moore. Never met the man. I don't know any of the accusers. I have not had a chance to interrogate, investigate, question any of these people. The only thing I can get is what's coming out of the media. This is not good enough to form an opinion. I will tell you that my gut instinct is that it's a well-known fact that what you do in a political dirty trick is that you come out with whatever political dirty trick you have 30 days, roughly 30 days before an election. Because it's the perfect time. Because it gives, once you put it out there, it gives the media 30 days to spread it like wildfire, but doesn't give the person being accused the time to sort it out and prove their innocence, or have to admit guilt. It's a one-way deal. You don't have time to have an investigation to sort it all out before the election happens. And what always happens is, we've always seen, the allegations are made a month before the election happens, and once the election's over, all these accusers, they disappear. You never hear from them again. They were coming out of the woodwork, but as soon as the election's over, boom, they disappear. And the candidate who wins says nothing, really, because he won. Now it's all, oh, well, that was all just during the campaign. It was political dirty tricks, whatever. But I won. Forget it. Let's move on. And, of course, so he doesn't want to pursue it, or the winner doesn't want to pursue it. And, of course, the losers go away because they tried a political dirty trick. It didn't work out, but they gave it a good shot. Sometimes it works. And then at which point the person who's now out of power is not in position to fight it. You see? So this is what bothers me about it, is the timing. This man, Roy Moore, has been a public official for 40 years in some capacity. And this is just now coming out. It turns out that he presided over this latest accuser's divorce case 18 years ago. Why didn't 18 years ago she come out and say something? Wouldn't that have jarred her memory about Roy Moore? Oh, the judge who's deciding my divorce case sexually harassed me 18 years ago. At that time, she should have told her attorney, and she should have had him removed as the judge. But apparently she didn't have any problem with it, or couldn't remember it then, but she sure remembers it now, 40 years later. There's a lot of things about this that stinks. Now, the best suggestion I have heard, once again, came from Maura, where she suggested that the governor should delay the vote. Whether, I don't know what the time would be, 6 months or something, I don't know. But I think that would be an excellent idea. just go ahead and delay the election and force this thing, get to the bottom of it. Force the truth out of this thing, because we cannot let this continue. We cannot. It's been going on for ever and ever and ever, and it needs to be put to a stop. We need to get to the bottom of this one. All the other times works out just like I told you. The election happens, and the consequences are the chips fall where they may. You have the winner, you have the loser. The accusers go away. The winner forgets about it. It all goes away. We cannot let that happen again. This is an excellent suggestion, Maura, to postpone the election until we get to the bottom of this. We need to get to the bottom of this one. Yes, we do, and we can. You certainly can. There needs to be a grand jury convened. They need to interview the witnesses. A lot will come out in the depositions when the two attorneys go through the discovery process and depose. Each attorney deposes the other attorney's client. During this whole process, a lot comes out. You convene the grand jury. You get all the evidence out there. You get the handwriting experts. You get lie detectors. You get the whole 9 yards. Air this thing out. Get to the bottom of it. Find out who's telling the truth. Find out who's lying. Find out what's going on. My gut tells me that this is a deep state political dirty trick. But I reserve the right to be skeptical about Mr. Moore only because I don't know him. And I don't have all the information. But it sure looks like to me that it's a dirty trick, and I don't think it's a Democrat dirty trick. I think it's a Republican dirty trick, if it's a dirty trick. Probably headed up by the deep state Republicans. No doubt some Democrats going along with it, but you would find Senator Magoo, Twit McConnell, and all the rest, probably, if it's a political dirty trick, it's probably them. That would be my guess. We need to get to the bottom of this, though. This can't continue. Because if you can launch a dirty tricks campaign like this, because we live in a different media environment than we did 10, 20, 30 years ago. This is not the same media environment. We live in a media environment now where, as I said yesterday, the media has now been weaponized. It's been turned into a weapon, and it's being used possibly on Judge Roy Moore. We need to get to the bottom of this. We need not let this one go. And I agree, Maura, we should postpone this election until we get to the bottom of it. Get to the bottom of this one. Let's find out what's going on. There are ways, believe me, to get to the bottom of this and get the truth. And we need to get it this time. We need to put a stop to this crap, because this is dangerous. Because if this can be done, you can do it to anybody. They tried to do it to Trump. This is dangerous for the Republic. We cannot have this. We've let this stuff go for years and years and years. Not anymore. We need to demand that we get to the bottom of this one and find out what the hell is going on. There's too much of this type of stuff going on. Can't be coincidence. We are in a very serious situation in this country. I'll tell you that. We really are. The Republic is literally and being deeply threatened. Man, oh man. So Trump is right when he came out and said, yeah, let the voters of Alabama decide. Now, 3 days ago, a poll came out and Moore was up by 10 points. He's had 2 more accusers come out since then, and now it's showing that he is down 8 points. So you can see this is having an effect. If a Democrat wins that seat in Alabama, that will be historic. And another reason why we definitely have to get to the bottom of this. You cannot have this kind of thing going on. You just cannot. Because if they can do this and get away with it, they'll do it again in 2018 and 2020. What's to stop them? This particular situation here is the final straw that breaks the camel's back. This has to be aired out. This particular issue has got to be resolved. Of course, Al Franken, we're learning now that he's a creep. We all knew he was a creep. And what does Al Franken have along with Kevin Spacey and Mr. Weinstein and all these other people, Slick Willie and all the rest? They're all good friends of the rotten Reverend Clinton. Have you ever noticed that? Look at all these people. I mean, Al Franken and Hillary are big buds. Many, many photos of those two together. laughing and cutting up. Do you think it's possible that the rotten Reverend Clinton doesn't know about that nearly everyone that she hangs around with is a freaking pervert, a pedophile, a rapist? No, she knows every one of these people because she's one of them. She's probably a pedophile herself. God knows what. Al Franken, yeah, he's a creepy dude. He's always been a creepy dude. And there's probably 5, 6 photos I saw today of him, you know, doing all sorts of creepy things, saying creepy things, talking about raping a ABC news person, wanting to give her some pills till she passes out and then rape her. I mean, this guy's sick, man. All these people are sick. Just cannot. It's hard for us who are normal, rational people to even get our mindset to accept what we're learning. You know, that there are people this sick. I mean, we know there are people this sick, but we never thought that they were, you know, senators, congressmen, and all this kind of stuff. You know, high-profile people. You think they would have more class, more, you know, you think they would be better people. You don't need to do this stuff. It's sick. And you got Twit McConnell calling for Moore to step down. But of course, he's calling for a review of Al Franken's situation. So Roy Moore, based on these allegations, should step down immediately, and Twitch may not seat him. But at the same time, when it comes to Al Franken, oh, well, we should have some hearings. We should have some hearings before we start talking about stepping down or anything like that. So, again, what would you expect from Twit McConnell? We know what team he's playing on. He has got to go. Absolutely got to go. God, I hate that son of a bitch. Oh, but it gets better. The Rotten Reverend. You'll like this one. The Rotten Reverend is, of course, being peppered now with questions about Uranium One again. And she was asked by a journalist about, yeah, well, what's your thoughts? They're talking about maybe a special prosecutor, trying to get a special prosecutor to look into this Uranium One, whatever. And she goes off and says, well, if they do, then they're sending a signal that we're going to be like some dictatorship or authoritarian regime where political opponents are going to be treated unfairly, fraudulently investigated. That rips at the fabric of the contract we have that we can trust our justice system. Can you believe those words could come out of this woman's mouth? Do you see what I'm talking about? You got to be a little crazy, folks, to even be able to have these conversations, okay? Because if you weren't, you'd go nuts anyway. I'm a little crazy. Got to be. Look at the stuff I have to learn about every day. You better be a little crazy. You'll go nuts if you aren't. I'd be in a padded room if I tried to maintain my total sanity amidst this. My goodness, let's break this down. It's going to be like some dictatorship or authoritarian regime. Authoritarian regime? It's the Justice Department, the FBI, and a whistleblower, an FBI informant that's actually going to bring down the curtains on the Rotten Reverend. Where political opponents are going to be treated unfairly, fraudulently investigated, after you just paid $12 million for a fake dossier, including a PP-Gate story that we now know is false, to destroy the candidacy of your opponent, and then once he became president, to destroy his presidency, and it still continues to this day, and you're concerned about an authoritarian regime where political opponents are going to be treated unfairly, fraudulently investigated? Fraudulently investigated. We just went through, did I not just go through all of her crimes yesterday? Or most of them, a lot of them. Fraudulently investigated. This woman is literally, I don't know. I know she's nuts, out of her mind, completely senile at this point. But I think that she's almost like Slick Willie and OJ. I think some of these psycho people actually believe their own bullshit. They recite this bullshit in their mind so much that they actually begin to believe it. I actually believe in some way that Hillary believes it. But I saw the look on her face, and it is the look of terror. She knows what this FBI informant is going to say. She knows all about it because she knows all about it. She knows the whole thing. And she knows that he's going to tell the whole story. And she probably might be figuring out at this point that a lot of her friends are jumping ship. They're leaving the rotten reverend and her crooked peckered husband faster than you can say spit. Well, one more major important story. I saved the best for last on Fun Friday. Coming to us from The Guardian, journalist Luke Harding. And keep in mind, The Guardian was one of the main sources that Christopher Steele and Glenn Simpson of Fusion GPS were using to peddle the dossier. They were one of the very first people that Christopher Steele sat down with and tried to back his story with. They were primary, front and center in the media campaign. Now, it turns out that Luke Harding has just written a book, and in that book, he discloses the following. Harding says that he was contacted by email by a member of the Clinton campaign who laid out the allegations that Trump used prostitutes in Moscow. So this establishes for the first time that someone on the Clinton campaign attempted to peddle the unfounded rumors about Trump to the press in this PP-Gate story. But more than that, we learn from Luke Harding that the entire left-wing media was working together to try and verify the dossier because, of course, the senior editors wouldn't let them print any of it until they could prove it. So they all went to work, and apparently they were all working together, which is something they don't do. In other words, you had the Washington Post working with CNN, working with The Guardian, working with all these other left-wing outlets. They were all pulling their resources together worldwide to try to verify this stuff so they could run with it. This is what we're learning from one of the journalists who was intimately involved from the very beginning. But this is an extraordinary revelation that we're now getting, that we know now where the PP-Gate story came from. The PP-Gate story came directly from a member of the Clinton campaign who directly emailed Luke Harding of The Guardian and gave him the story. It didn't come from Christopher Steele. It didn't come from Fusion GPS. It came directly from someone in the Clinton campaign. How unbelievable is that? Unbelievable. Wow. Just don't know what to think anymore. But I do tell you one thing. We need to demand at this point. I'm fed up with it. I know you guys are. You know, there's an old saying people used to say that, you know, politics is like Hollywood for ugly people. And it's very true. There's a lot of similarities between the Hollywood crowd, the swamp there, the sewer there, and the swamp and the sewer in D.C. These people are very closely connected. They're very much alike. They're friends in a lot of cases. But at this point, I'm fed up with it. I know all of you are too. And what we need to demand in this country is that every member of Congress be questioned with a lie detector. And they need to be asked, have you ever had an extramarital affair? Have you ever had sex with a prostitute since becoming a public official? Have you ever had sex with a minor? Was that minor, if you had sex with them, were they of the same sex or a different sex? Have you ever paid anyone that you've had sex with not to talk about the relationship? Do you have any ongoing relationships? These types of questions with the lie detector need to be asked to every single member of Congress. And every single one of them that fails that lie detector needs to resign immediately. We really need to drain the swamp of this crap. We need to put an end to it. We need to demand this. We need to demand it. I'm fed up. And I know you are too. But anyway, thank you so much for tuning in. I'll be back with you tomorrow, or Saturday, for the Saturday evening TowerGate weekend segment, I guess we could call it. Thank you for tuning in. I'll see you guys. Bye.